Don't do it. Hi,
What?
Scott.
How are you doing?
I'm okay. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. I think everyone in Kansas City now knows you got your eyelashes done and they look great.
What is wrong with you?
You're
Why
upset
would you say that
because
now?
I'm commenting on how great your eyelashes look. But more importantly, the sun is shining and we are doing a show. Bestway International is sponsoring it. What gets better than that?
How was your Memorial Day?
Lots of different pools, lots of different people, and teaching our children shaking hands to look them in the eye, give a firm handshake, and that's what we did. What about yourself?
Well, my daughter was in SpongeBob the musical, and then it was at
Oh,
Avila College, and then Sunday, Avila College power was out from the storm, so the last show got rescheduled to Monday. So it turned into a whole weekend thing. But I do want to take this opportunity because I'm a very proud mom right now. My son is in his first Theater in the Park show. It starts this week. It's a 2-week show of Bye Bye Birdie. I can't go this week because I'm going on vacation that was already scheduled. So if you love theater, go support my son in Bye Bye Birdie this week.
man, that's awesome. They're like, your children are playing to thousands of people. Does that mean he's a little making some cash on the side, or is it's still going in
No,
the
but
Aaron Fulk account?
it's still coming. Everything still comes out of the Aaron Fulk account. But they did sign with their first agent last week.
Yeah.
And so now they should start getting paid gigs, and that will probably just go into college.
Well,
sure, I'll pay for everything around here. It's fine.
do you know every entrepreneur has a chance to sign with a personal agent?
No.
It's called Lily and James Creative Personal Branding. Look at that plug.
Look at that.
Take that, Bestway International.
No, we're excited. The kids have acting agents, so they're like actual actors now. I'm like, this is great. So
You know who probably also has an agent? Probably someone in the audience.
After 4 years, we should have your transitions.
No,
my goal.
I'm not a transitioner. That's not even a
If
word.
you are watching LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube, let us know. If you're watching live or the replay, let us know. Paul's here every single week. He says, watching on an iPad powered by solar panels because we have no power. You still have no power, Paul? I know Prairie Village didn't have power. Some of my friends in Prairie Village didn't have power until last night. It's been crazy weather. It's been really crazy. So, all right. Well, nobody comes for us. Talk about Bestway International a little bit, and then we'll get started.
Well, if you want to deliver a transition, don't let Scott Havens do it. If you're transitioning, especially your product, make sure you do it with Bestway International, because if it's in Sweden or if it's in Scottsdale, Arizona, they're going to get it there.
I like that. I want to tell you something really quick because you just made me think about it with your Sweden thing. You know that trend that says 6'5"? I need a guy in finance, 6'5", blue eyes, trust fund, like those 4 things. Grant Gooding and I were talking about that. And so we went back to run the data. And it turns out there's only 2 people in the United States that are single that fit that criteria. However, I have now seen that there are a lot of opportunities in Sweden to meet a man at 6'5", trust fund, blue eye in finance. So you brought up Sweden, and it made me think of that.
What I do 80% of my day is giving people context of the open opportunities that they're looking for. And back to maybe not blue eyes, but they give you a blue ocean. They go, I want to be in operations. I want to be a fast-growing tech company. I want good benefits. I want it to be a small company. I want it to be well capitalized. I want them to be growing. I go, good news. If you can tell me one of them, I'll get you a job there. So people just don't understand. A lot of what they're looking for just sometimes isn't out there. They got to do the math.
2 people. Now there's 6 total in the United States, but 4 of them are married ladies. So
well, one of them is probably a guest that we're about to tee up here.
So I didn't believe Grant, even though I should have. He's our buddy. So I went to look up, and I learned that 0.01% of the population is 6'5" or over. That's wild, right? One of our guests is over 6'5" today.
You don't. My mom and dad said never let the facts get in the way of a good story. But he's very intelligent. He's very handsome. He does. I don't know if he has blue eyes. So we'll find out here in a second.
What about a trust fund? That might be important.
No, he made it all. He's an entrepreneur.
Okay, here we go. You shouldn't have said it, because now I want to know. All right. Today, we're going to bring our guest in. Our first guest is Sarah. Hi, guys. Welcome.
Andy, what's your color of your eyes?
Hazel, and I'm not near 6'5". No trust funds. So I arguably kind of a finance bro, but not completely. So 1 of 4 at best. So.
See, Scott? See, that's what you get.
Got
none of the facts. You got none of the facts.
All
right.
The handsome devil.
Today is the first day I wasn't on the pre-show. So did Scott warn you guys about the clock? You have 3-minute clock?
Sure, he did. Yep.
You know, he's kind of a wild card. So I just want to make sure before I pull up the clock. All right, Sarah, we're going to start with you. Who are you? What do you do? And how do you get to Kansas City?
Hey, y'all. My name is Sarah Pretorius. I'm the co-founder and CEO of SipSteady. We are the nation's very first creative marketing agency that is exclusively dedicated to serving non-alcoholic beverage brands and what we like to call sober-friendly businesses. I'm originally from the East Coast, and admittedly, I was a Midwest snob until I moved here back in 2020 when my husband got transferred, and I was already working remotely. I've spent 10 years with different nonprofits in Florida. And now I am an entrepreneur that proudly calls Kansas City my home. We started our business in 2021, and it was inspired by my personal journey of going alcohol-free. And I think I wrapped that up so quickly. So fire away if I missed anything.
So for you personally, what was the aha moment for you starting your brand and your business?
Yeah, so my experience going alcohol-free for a multitude of personal reasons, but really I just woke up one morning and it was like a light switch went off, and I realized I could either drink and have fun and be hungover on Saturday and Sundays every now and then, or I could live up to my fullest potential. And so that was back in 2021. You know, Kansas City was like opening up, and I still wanted to do all the things and explore my new town. And so that meant going to bars and concert venues and restaurants. And it was through that experience of wanting to do all the things and, go out and enjoy a social life with my friends and my husband, where I quickly realized that although there was this explosion of amazing and innovative non-alcoholic products that were all over social media, again, I think the pandemic really showed a lot of people, or it was a magnifier for what someone's relationship with alcohol was, either positively or negatively. And so there's this explosion of non-alcoholic products on social media, but that wasn't always translating to menus across the KC Metro and beyond. And so I thought to myself, if this is my experience as being like a freshly alcohol-free person, I can only imagine what it's like for people who have been in recovery or who have chosen a sober lifestyle or just want to take a break from drinking and don't feel like they're being seen and supported. And so from there, I wanted to leverage my background in communications, marketing, events, and PR to really help these non-alcoholic beverage brands grow and reach more customers who are essentially like me.
Yeah, timing's everything. So 2021, not a bad time to be hitting the non-alcoholic market. Do you want to give the audience a little data here in the next 15 seconds of how fast your industry is growing?
I mean, just year over year, I think there's been triple digit growth. I wish I had prepared some fast stats, but it's just been huge.
Well, anyone can Google it. It is rapidly growing.
I just saw a TikTok about this the other day, and how Gen Z is the top generation that's decided to live without alcohol, which is usually that 20-year-old range is very opposite that usually. So it's
exactly.
Alcohol has peaked.
It has peaked.
It has peaked.
Yeah, it's like that kid in high school that was popular and then never went.
Oh, that's a kick in the. That's my only motivation to stay in shape. I was such a loser in high school.
Oh, stop it. Andy, who are you? What do you do? And how do you get to Kansas City?
My name is Andy Talbert, as Scott mentioned. I run a real estate family office called ELUX. That's kind of a vertically integrated real estate company. Moved to Kansas City years ago, high school, college, worked for Hallmark Cards for about 6 years. So spent a lot of time there, and then actually moved to South Florida before COVID in 2020. So we kind of traded places. So I went to Florida, and she came back to the Midwest, obviously. But we still do a lot of business in Kansas City, still have most of our team based there. So big fans of kind of all the suburban areas around Kansas City. I think our central issue is probably housing. So we work in the housing space. We do what's called build for rent, which are townhome, single family type neighborhood communities, but we lease them up versus selling them to individuals, and try to, do as much efficiency as we possibly can there in terms of management, development, operations, kind of all the different elements. We're big believers in supply and demand. So we think kind of, the answer to the housing crisis is ultimately produce a whole lot more housing. And we're on the supply side of things. So we don't really do a whole lot of kind of buying pre-existing stuff and trying to transform it. We're really mostly ground up. So we're going and hunting for pieces of ground, taking it all the way through the entitlement process, and then ultimately finding ways to capitalize and build out, again, whole neighborhoods of houses that wouldn't be there otherwise, and make available to families and individuals to live there. So that's the main gist of it. Again, still very connected to the Kansas City market. Still have a lot of friends there. Scott and I have known each other for a number of years, and kind of go back and forth between Florida, Texas, and Kansas City quite often.
Have you seen the Netflix show How to Get Rich?
I've seen some of it. Yes, not all of it, but yeah.
I love that you've seen it. How he talks about how often leasing actually gets you to your financial goals faster than buying a house. So it kind of sounds like you're on the front end of that. And that's how Gen Z, again, has really, a lot of them have decided to take real estate. Sounds like you're in the right space.
I totally agree. I think I hadn't made that connection between our brand and obviously her brand, but I think ultimately, yes, there's some interesting stats out there right now. I mean, I think for the first time in our lives, all of us, no matter how old we are, in the top 50 MSAs, so the top 50 metro areas across the country, for the first time ever, all 50 of those, 1 through 50, it is now substantially cheaper to rent than to own that same home in those 50 markets. And it's never been the case before. So the value proposition to go out and to, put together a 10 or 20% down payment, which could be, $100,000 or more, on top of also then signing up for a 7.5% or 8% mortgage. I think that lack of flexibility and lack of fluidity in terms of where people want to live at has less appeal probably with people who are 30 or under than it really ever has before. So maybe we're giving up two things as a society: home ownership and alcohol as young people. So who knows?
A lot of people would argue that. Yeah.
No, I find that super interesting. I was in property management for a long time, so I think you're in a great space, right? And housing is one industry. I don't feel you, like, whenever we go through crises, housing industry still has to happen. So it's always very interesting during economy things.
It does. Yeah, absolutely. No, I think it continues to be an undersupplied area, and Kansas City is one of those markets that, even if you compare it to other metro areas in the country, it's even more undersupplied than the average. So we like it for that reason, because there's a lot of opportunity there.
Scott, are you ready with your question?
Sarah, what is the most pivotal point in your career?
Most pivotal point in my career, I would have to say it would be when I became a full-time entrepreneur. As I mentioned, I had spent the beginning of my career, and I feel like I'm still in the baby stages of my career, and I feel like I still have so much to learn and so many ways in which to grow. But I always had this big, mushy, compassionate, I want to do good in the world heart. And that's why I joined the Peace Corps. And then from there, I worked for a child advocacy center. And from there, I worked for an anti-human trafficking organization, where I was in all but named the chief of staff to the CEO, who was a brilliant female mentor and taught me so much. And I really was so comfortable. And I was raising hundreds of thousands of dollars for an organization that I believed in, and I was gaining all these skills. And yet there was like this tug within me. And so when the idea for SipSteady kept churning around my brain, I knew that if it was ever going to become and meet its fullest potential, I needed a co-founder. And so one of my dear friends here in the Kansas City area, who's also a KC transplant from Canada, her name is Kayla, I floated this idea to her. She considers herself a mindful drinker. She was always my partner in crime and trying all of these amazing non-alcoholic drinks at her house, at parties, etc. And so I remember it was like I was proposing to her because I knew that she would be the perfect co-founder and partner in order to bring SipSteady into what it really could be. Because we're kind of like a yin and yang, and we flow really seamlessly together. And I knew that I needed someone to help hold me accountable, because I had started a few different business ventures on a very small scale in the past, and I'm a recovering people pleaser. And so I understood the power of what it's like to have a great team member that can help hold you accountable, that you can delegate, divide and conquer work with. And so when I asked her to become my co-founder, it was like game on. We started our Instagram account, I think that day or the day later. We boosted one post on Instagram, and from there we started taking calls with interested potential clients. And from there, we've never had to chase work because we are so hyper niche. We've always have had brands come and approach us to learn more about our services. So becoming a full-time entrepreneur, I mean, you're always learning as you go, right? I don't have an MBA. I didn't go to school for business, but I believe in following the breadcrumbs. And so I believe every experience that I had working for nonprofits, working for a mental health startup, has helped prepare me to do what I'm doing right now. And, it's not glamorous. It's not easy, but when you're working for yourself, it's so rewarding. And I mean, I'm just excited to wake up every day and get to do what we get to do.
How long have you been a recovering people pleaser?
Still working on it, but I've gotten a lot better with boundaries. And, my mentor, one of the best pieces of advice that she gave me was make your yes mean yes and your no mean no, because you're doing yourself and other people a disservice if you tell them yes, but you really mean no, because you're not going to give it your best.
Quick question. Did you get your LLC or your Instagram page first?
Instagram first, then LLC.
Yeah, it's wild how many people sign up through Meta before they get their LLCs. It's insane if you guys go look at the numbers these days. Okay. Andy, get ready, Scott. You ready?
I only get trusted with one thing, and it's hard to pronounce, and Sarah did it too. What is the most pivotal point in your career, Andy?
Okay, pivotal. I'd probably point to similar circumstances. I think that a number of years ago, when I ultimately left kind of that corporate employment, I think there's a line in entrepreneurship that like the two most addictive substances are heroin and a W-2. I think it's true. That sense of like being able to just like give up the, wait a second, I don't get paid every 2 weeks. This is really scary. And being able to kind of like internalize and fight through that. And I think, there are little things you can look back on in that, kind of entrepreneurial journey that give you the confidence that probably weren't like huge to the outside world, but were huge kind of in that internal moment of being able to say like, okay, do I have the confidence to kind of do the next step or the next step or the next step after that along the way? So I think the ability to kind of leave whatever the position of safety, whether that's corporate or W-2, absolutely is a huge one. I think the other thing that I kind of point back to and look at is really, when you do meet those key partners in your life along the way. I'm anything but a solopreneur. I am incapable across probably like 70% of the capabilities required to really like run an entire business, and would be rather mediocre as a solopreneur, I think, in that regard. So I think anything I've ever built of meaning in life has been through kind of a team approach and finding those people who are complementary to your skill sets, that are complementary to values and insight and vision and all the rest, and generally also kind of just have a sense of they want to go accomplish something similar to what you want to accomplish in the world. I mean, I think one of the great things about entrepreneurship is just that sense to be able to kind of look at the current state of anything and say, hey, I think we should go change it this way. Let's go do that. And you start kind of leaning into that, with other people, which is obviously so meaningful. So, the ability to leave a safe position and then the ability to kind of then find the right people to go pursue whatever that thing is that excites you is super important.
What made you the most scared about taking the leap? Was it believing in yourself? Was it the paycheck? What was the scariest thing?
I think that like when you're in a larger organization, I've always been really, really privileged to learn and to work within like family companies. I mean, even going back to like the Hallmark days, it's a family company, right? So you could always see that, companies are run by real people, whether they're family owned or corporations or whatever else. But those people who actually kind of affect the balance sheet or affect the profit and loss statement, you're sometimes very removed from them early in your career, right? You're removed if you're the analyst or you're the this or you're the that. So I think along the way, it's figuring out like, okay, can I do sales? I know I'm doing sales, but I don't call it sales. So can I do sales? Can I close? Can I actually bring in business? Can I target and figure out, who ultimately needs this thing that we're wanting to go build or produce along the way? And all of those kind of things, again, hypothetically, they're there in anyone, but you have to really like go and say, okay, I either I'm doing this or I'm not doing this. And, it works or it doesn't work. And it doesn't always work. I mean, honestly, that's the other reality is you have to kind of figure out what works for you.
Awesome. Okay. We got 8 minutes left, so we're going to try to get through this. Sarah, where are you on your 2024 goals, and how can the Kansas City community help you get there?
Yeah, our 2024 goals are big and audacious, and you know what? To be honest, we're still figuring out what those are, but the two top ones are being able to scale up our company so that we can take on more clients, and we don't call them clients, we call them partners, and really make our business sustainable, right? So we have been working on that, and we just hired our first she's still part-time, but she's our most consistent subcontractor. So we're really excited about that. Scaling up to take on more clients. And then also we really want to focus on helping the corporate community introduce more inclusive happy hours. And we've been able to partner with amazing companies like Locked In. We're going to be having conversations with other companies that I shall not name yet in the KC metro area, so that because one of our services is offering a non-alcoholic pop-up bar, or at least helping companies source really amazing non-alcoholic products to offer to their teams, whether it's on a retreat or in office happy hour. So that's been fun, and that's where the Kansas City community can help out SipSteady. If you either work for or know of it could be a mid-sized to large company. It could be anyone really who wants to offer your team members more non-alcoholic and inclusive options at your next event. We are there to help consult, to help empower, to help educate, and to provide awesome NA drinks that will take you by surprise, because there's been so much stigma around, what a mocktail is, and it's just a Shirley Temple and it's for kids, or it's just like not as elevated and fun. And we're here to prove that that's just not the case anymore.
Sarah, you mentioned some things, but what does a typical client look like? And then are there any reoccurring revenue streams that you're working on, or is it mainly events?
Yeah, so our bread and butter, our main vertical is being the marketing team for a non-alcoholic beverage brand. So our longest running client at the moment, who we absolutely adore, is a luxury non-alcoholic wine company that grows its grapes at one of the most coveted vineyards in the United States. The founder is based out of New York. And so most of our clients are new or emerging non-alcoholic beverage brands. We want our clients or our partners to outgrow us. We are not the marketing agency where they have to spend tens of thousands of dollars and then get just for social media support or for email marketing, et cetera. We want to be that stepping stone to help them grow their business and not have to worry about marketing, so that they can focus on their production runs and their operations and their internal team.
There you go. I like it. Quick and to the point. We're almost out of time. We're going though.
All right, Andy, how are your 2024 goals going, and how can the Kansas City community help you?
Yeah, so our 2024 goals, I think, are really to grow a couple of things in the Kansas City market specifically, and also in a couple other markets. But we're really, really leaning into the property management side of our business. We've been a developer for years. We've been an operator. We've managed our own product. We've also managed other clients' product along the way. But we've seen some inefficiencies in terms of the single-family rental, the townhome communities, even some of the smaller apartment complexes in Kansas City. And that lack of efficiency in terms of management, I think, makes it harder to capitalize or to attract the capital necessary to a market like Kansas City to produce as many housing units that are ultimately needed in the course of a year. I mentioned earlier in the podcast, it's really an undercapitalized market is why it's also an undersupplied market. There isn't the same degree of cash here that like a Dallas or an Orlando or a Tampa or an Austin or whatever else would have. So because of that, you see less than 5,000 new homes being built every year, when candidly it should be probably a few thousand higher than that. And that has an effect on affordability. It has a negative effect on affordability. So we have built, a top shelf team with a platform and an ecosystem, I think that's really, really powerful. And we want to get that in front of more people in the Kansas City market for their property management ultimately. So that's a big, big push internally. Ultimately, I think, again, we can kind of bring some efficiencies that ultimately then will attract additional capital to Kansas City, which means more houses. More houses means better affordability. And, again, looking at all of it, I think it feeds it. We have a presence in Florida, obviously, as I mentioned. We're adding a presence in Texas this summer. And I think being able to tie some of those markets together when it comes to capital, when it comes to tenants, when it comes to owners and properties and everything else, it makes a big difference. Kansas City kind of sits a little bit isolated in certain ways as a market. It doesn't have the same effect that you see between, for example, in Texas, a Dallas and a Houston and an Austin and a San Antonio. You don't have that same dynamic. It's a little bit more of an island. And because of that, it doesn't have the same benefit that some of those other places have. So I think growing our operations side of the business, getting in front of more people on the property management side and being able to show what we can do for them. And then ultimately that, again, will help them either add to their portfolio if that's the desire, or in some cases, get a better price selling their portfolio and maybe trading it for something else along the way. So we're big believers in real estate as an asset class and as an investment vehicle to create wealth, but it's also on the other side of it providing a service to overall society in terms of people having a place to live, having a place to rent, because of the fact that their capital is able to be at work. So again, the long-term trend towards, rentership or being a tenant versus being a homeowner, I think is there. And I think it'll play out over the years. There just aren't as many companies and as many teams who are built towards that. You kind of have the ecosystem of all the home builders on one side and all the apartment guys on the other, and we're trying to kind of find this middle way that I think will really benefit things, not just in Kansas City, but in other markets as well.
Nice.
Boom, man, way to close that answer. My favorite thing is I think you naturally said you were talking about the top shelf product that you make. I think Sarah's hiring a top shelf employee that's coming up here soon. So way to wrap everything together. Aaron, what do you think? Are you got a lot of top shelf stuff going on in your life?
Andy, what part of Florida are you in?
South Florida. I'm in Miami. So, yep.
Okay, nice. Yeah.
The best part of Florida to live in.
I go to Orlando tomorrow, so
Orlando's nice.
I was looking at the weather where you are compared to where we are right now. You guys, it's hot. I'm jealous. It's gonna be good. So Sarah, I'll never know what you do. Welcome to Kansas City. All right. Well, thank you guys so much, Andy and Sarah, for coming on the show. We really appreciate it. Scott, thank you so much for co-hosting. And as always, thank you so much to Bestway International for sponsoring and allowing us to do this. We will see you same time, same place. I better be more tan when you see me next time. We'll see you next Tuesday. Bye, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.